In this section, we're going to talk about the different kinds of errors you can encounter in hypothesis testing, and we're going to translate how to compute certain probabilities of an error when we have a simple null hypothesis. So let's set the stage for what we're going to talk about. When we start a hypothesis test, we have our null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is either true or false. It's a binary outcome. We're going to assume that our null hypothesis is true when we start our testing process, and we're only going to conclude that the alternative hypothesis is true if the data that we observe strongly support it. And so when you're doing hypothesis testing, there's different kinds of decisions you can make, and there's different types of errors associated with that. Okay, I was having some technical difficulties, and so I created the table here in Microsoft Word for clarity. And so we have a couple of different situations. So we have reality. This is what's actually true and false. Okay, so either the null hypothesis is true or the null hypothesis is false. If then we have our decision that we're going to make, whether we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we retain the null hypothesis, or if the evidence is compelling enough, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude the alternative hypothesis. And so within that 2x2 set of choices or options, okay, if the null hypothesis is true and we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we've made the correct decision, which is good. Similarly, if the null hypothesis is false, in other words, the alternative hypothesis is true, and we reject the null hypothesis, we've once again made the correct decision. So both of those are good situations. However, if our null hypothesis is true, but we reject the null hypothesis, we have made what is known as a type 1 error. So type 1 error is when the null hypothesis is true, but we reject the null hypothesis. And this is the error type that we actually control when we're doing hypothesis testing. And so this is not necessarily the most important kind of error, but it's the kind of error that we can directly control. So it's very important in testing. On the other hand, if the null hypothesis is false, so the alternative hypothesis is true, but we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we've made what is known as a type 2 error. So when we're making our decisions, when we're doing hypothesis tests, we have these two different kinds of errors that we can clearly make. A type 1 error when we reject the null hypothesis, but it's actually true, or a type 2 error, which is when the null hypothesis is false, but we fail to reject the null hypothesis. The discussion of error types leads into talking about the level of significance, which we denote by the Greek letter alpha. For a simple null hypothesis, the level of a test, alpha, is the probability of making a type 1 error. So alpha is the probability of type 1 error, which is the same thing mathematically as the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when in fact the null hypothesis is true. Let's do an example where we actually compute the type 1 error or the level of a test. So let's assume that we have x1 to x10 are distributed IID normal 0, 1. We want to test between two different claims. The null hypothesis is that mu is equal to 3 versus the alternative that mu is greater than 3. Notice that under the null hypothesis, we have a simple hypothesis because the distribution of our data, the distribution from which the sample came, will be fully known. And for illustration purposes, I'm going to tell you the decision rule or the rejection rule, which is that we're going to reject the null hypothesis when the sample mean x bar is greater than 4. This is not how you would typically do that. You wouldn't decide this ahead of time. You would actually work from the level of the test to figure out the decision rule. But for this example, we're going to assume that we know the decision rule and then use that to compute the level of the test. So if we reject when the sample mean is greater than 4, what is the probability that we would make a type 1 error if the null hypothesis is true? Okay, so we start off wanting to find the level alpha of our test, and we know that alpha equals the probability of a type 1 error. Okay, the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it's true. So we'll write it like that. So the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true. And when are we rejecting the null hypothesis? Well, we are rejecting the null hypothesis when x bar is greater than 4. when mu is equal to 3, which is our null hypothesis. Okay, so in order to get any further in this, calculation, we need to know something about the distribution of x bar. And we know that when x1, x2, up to xn, or in this case, well, xn is distributed normal mu sigma squared, IID, then x bar is distributed normal with a mean of mu and the variance of sigma squared over n. Okay, so in our case, under the null hypothesis, so assuming the null hypothesis is true, then x bar is going to be distributed normal with a mean of 3, because the mean is 3 if the null hypothesis is true. And then the variance was 1, and the sample size is 10. So x bar is distributed normal, 3 and 1/10 under the null hypothesis. So now we can continue our calculation. So this x bar has a normal distribution, so it would make sense to standardize it. Okay, so we want to subtract off the mean and divide by the standard deviation, and the reason we do that is because that will turn it into a standard normal. So we're going to have that is equal to the probability that x bar minus 3 divided by the square root of 1/10 is greater than 4 minus 3 divided by the square root of 1/10. And once again, the reason that we are subtracting off 3 and dividing by the square root of 1/10 is because that's going to standardize this quantity on the left here. And so that becomes a standard normal. And so this equals the probability that z is greater than 3.16. Okay, so if you actually do that computation, subtract 3 from 4, divide by the square root of 1/10, you get 3.16. And kind of running out of space here, so I'll move it over here. That is equal to 1 minus the probability that z is less than or equal to 3.16. And now if we wanted to, we can use the table in our book, or we can use something like R Python and figure out the probability that the standard normal is less than or equal to 3.16. And if you do that, you're going to get 1 minus 0.9992, which equals 0.0008. So if our null hypothesis is true, and our rejection rule is that we reject the null hypothesis when x bar is greater than 4, then under the null hypothesis, the probability that we make a type 1 error, that we reject the null hypothesis, is 0.0008. So not very large. So I just want to point this out, though, that this is not how we normally do things. So normally we don't decide the rejection rule first. We actually decide the type 1 error we want. And so we'll set that, as we'll see, to some number like 0.05 or 0.01. And then we'll actually work backwards to figure out the rejection rule that we should use in order to get that level of type 1 error. And so the reason we did it this way is just because under this decision rule, we could easily compute the type 1 error, the probability of type 1 error. But in general, you actually work the other direction. You specify the type 1 error ahead of time, and then you work back to come up with your decision rule.